So, welcome back to another video. This is a paid request from DavieVids. Thank you so much for that. Who wanted me to do a tier list on Sylvester Stallone films. Thank you once again for that. And for those interested, requested any other types of tier lists, reviews, commentaries, reactions, randomness, topics, whatever it may be, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is be different and fun. He set up this tier list and sent me the link. Thank you so much for that. From S to F, and these are the Stallone films. And I'm going to put it right here first so that I'm not going too much back and forth. Let's start with the simple ones first. This is easily S. Rambo for Sport Part 2 to me is the quintessential action film of the 80s, at least in my opinion. From the wonderful score by Jerry Goldsmith to the one-man army motif that inspired so much stuff. Yes, Missing in Action was out before it, but this was such a huge success that so many films was made because of this. The C4 tipped explosive arrows, the great lines of dialogue. Murdoch, I'm coming to get you. The helicopter battle at the end. Great supporting cast: Richard Crenna, Charles Napier, Julian Nixon as Coe, Martin Cove. While I do like First Blood quite a bit, Rambo First Blood Part 2 is what made me a fan of the franchise and the character. So I absolutely put that high upon high on the list. One of my all-time favorite films. Could watch that anytime. Love that movie. And another easy one, Cobra. I mean, I got the poster in the back. The only issue I have is I wish we could see the uncut version, but that will never come to be. I think that footage is long gone. But again, you want to see what makes the 80s the 80s. These two films are a good culmination of that. You got the great lines of dialogue once again. You're disease, and I'm the cure. This is where the law stops, and I start. Sucker. Intimidating villain in Brian Thompson. You have a horror film, slasher film feel to it. Because of the... They wanted to shorten the film. They tried to get more showings when Top Gun was coming out. So it's a very short, I think, fast-paced movie. Got some nice editing work in there. Has a fantastic soundtrack. Angel in the City, Voice of America's Sons, and just a total badass. I love the Jatomatic machine gun with the laser sighting, the cool clothes, the cool iconic look, badass, the gun with the Cobra emblem on it. The finale when he's the back of the pickup truck just mowing down bad guys left to right. If you had a bit of that violence and blood squibs in there, like a hard target, this would probably be number one for me. As is, it's pretty damn close, and again, Cobra's a great symbol of the 80s. Let's see, also in there, the most underrated sequel, Rambo 3. Yes, I do put on S tier. Yes, the villain could have been better. But the amount of excitement and action and spectacle in that movie that was done for real in camera before the age of CGI technology really came to the forefront the into the 90s is a great wonder to behold. I mean, you see real tanks, real helicopters, real stuff going on, and that was my superhero movie. You had C4 arrow blowing up helicopters. He's in a tank going up against a bad guy in a helicopter. You have the great stick fight at the beginning. You have him under a tank being rolled around in real time to get into the facility to save Richard Crenna's character. the cat mouse chase with the blue light, fighting the big Russian guy that is not just to kill him, but he hangs the guy, and because he's pulled the grenades, and he blows up. So he gets hanged and blown up. Stallone has best physical prowess. Jerry Goldsberg come back once again to do the score. And also, it's an underdog, and I like to root for the underdogs. And this film got so much crap that it's not deserved at all. Never found the film boring, so I'm giving it some love here. Also, S tier, easily cliffhanger. One of the best action films of the '90s. Die Hard in the Mountains. John Lithgow, such a sinister, menacing villain. Wonderful location shoots by Rennie Harlan. Fantastic stunt work. How they shot the bits with Stallone and the bad guy going down the mountain, and Stallone getting the guy's face into the snow and face burn up because of the freeze. The one-on-one fight with the guy, Leon, and impales him with a stalactite. Michael Rooker and Janine Turner gives a good support to Stallone. Memorable opening. Fantastic score. Very underrated musical score. Exciting. Wonderful stunts and thrills. Cliffhanger is absolute classic. Demolition Man. Easily. It's a documentary now. Stallone and Wesley Snipes were great protagonist and antagonist. Has a lot of good pieces of humor in it that sadly is very relevant today in terms of the PC culture. And it's also stellar as an action film. The battle between the two is fantastic with all these different levels, from the crane grabbing Stallone and Stallone getting out of it. Wesley gets him in that. I'll be goddamn. Stallone breaks it. Wesley has that, what do you call that, electric thing? It almost fries him, and then they get this one-on-one fight and battle. Sandra Bullock, Dennis Leary has another good supporting cast in it. Has a lot more to say than people gave credit to, as well as being a fun action movie, so Demolition Man is definitely on that list. Let's see. Some of the stuff here. But the S tier to me is the best of the best. Rocky IV. I mean, it's my favorite Rocky film. I love the montages. I love the soundtrack. I love the Dolph Lundgren. I think is very good as Ivan Drago. I think the fewer words he said, the better. It worked better for that character. And I'm talking about the theatrical cut of Rocky IV, the much, much better cut. Where to go from here? Paradise Alley. I mean, not Paradise. That's over here. Lords of Flatbush. Where to put that? Maybe B. Remember not hating the film. It was interesting to see him and Henry Winkler, a very early role. It's not really my cup of tea of movies, usually. But it was interesting to see them in early role and see where Stallone started. And you could do a lot worse. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it, but you could do a lot worse with that. So I'll put that in the the B category. Victory, honestly, I put that in D. Not really much a fan of Victory. I'm not a soccer guy. It's cool to have Stallone in there. He gives a good performance. Same with Michael Caine. Pele, I think Sally's passed away. He's very good as a soccer. But like I said, the story just never interested me. I don't care about the game itself. It was not about the game, but a good part of it is the soccer game playing. And the other supporting characters I just find very forgettable. So just could never get into Victory or escape to Victory. It's like trying to be the great escape, but it's not. So yeah, I could never get into that. Driven is an F. Well, actually, you know what? So, some of the films on this list are going to be so much worse. So I'll put that on E for. It's still shit. Excrement is the worst of all time. Sally is not the worst Stallone film, but it's close. I mean, there's some pieces of the flashy direction by Rennie Harlan. I see Burt Reynolds and Stallone on the same screen together. And maybe some of the racing to get some excitement out of you, but Tip Pardue does not work as a lead. Stallone being put into just a small supporting role was a mistake. I think if Stallone was more of the lead, that would have helped. Some of the racing could be fun, but then when it gets more into the CGI, heavy overuse of it, that becomes a big problem. Again, I like the soundtrack. I know the breakdown. But Stallone, I thought, was underused in that. I think it should have been Stallone and Burt Reynolds movie, but instead, I didn't care about Tip Pardue or his character or his rivalry with this other guy and his on again, off again relationship with his girlfriend. I didn't care about any about that. I don't know if anybody else did. So, Days of Thunder is a much better version of Driven. Much better. Oscar. You know, I actually don't put this in C. More think about Lords of Flatbush. And I put Oscar in I actually like this film. I think it's a fun movie. But do I want to put it that high? I'll put a B for now. I do enjoy the film. I do think it's a funny comedy. I do think it's... fuck it. It'd be like the lower A. I don't think it's that bad of a movie. I never did. I thought it was entertaining. I thought the cast worked well with each other. It's trying to have this very fast, snappy attitude with the comedy. That's a reflection of comedies back in the day. I thought these misunderstandings and one person enters, one person leaves, like this frenetic pace that was refreshing, old school but refreshing. And when you had like Chaz Palminteri, I believe, and yeah, Kurtwood Smith, Tim Curry, Harry Shearer. Yeah, pretty damn good supporting cast. And I thought Stallone was having a lot of fun. Like I said, I definitely think this is his best comedy that he's been in. And I think it's actually a bit underrated. I think it's a fun movie. I think it's a fun comedy that showed Stallone could do a bit more. And of the comedies, it felt like the one he was the most comfortable in. Oscar. I think Siskel and Ebert gave that 2 thumbs up. Creed 2, F. Fuck Creed 2. Fuck the Creed movies. You want to see like a shitty version of Rocky 4, just go watch Creed 2. And Michael B. Jordan, I'm sorry, as Creed, he has no charisma, he has no likability, and it's just a shame that's where the Rocky franchise is headed into. Don't give a fuck about Creed or Creed 2. Benji and Angelo, that's definitely F tier. just a very terrible comedic direct-to-video film. This is when Stallone was getting to the direct-to-video age, and when he's doing films like this is when he's like, I need to take more control of my career than did Rocky Balboa and Rambo 4, which was much better for him. But this was like, at the time, this was the bottom of the barrel for Stallone. Then it's just cheap production value, unexciting action. I don't think him and Madeline Stowe had as great of a chemistry. The villains were very forgettable. I mean, granted, this is a masterpiece compared to, sadly, the Bruce Willis films of today, or Steven Seagal, because at least Stallone still cares. It's not like his performance is awful. It's just the movie's just very cheap, very lame, very forgettable movie. So, Spy Kids 3, Stallone in one of his most embarrassing roles as the villain, playing multiple characters and just not a... I saw it in the theater in 3D. It was a piss poor experience, I'll say that. Hate that movie. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I'm going to give that into the B category. Stallone has a fun cameo in it. Nice to see him and Michael Rooker, little cliffhanger reunion. I like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I just did not think it was as good as the first one. It was nice to see Kurt Russell in it, but I thought you get this group together, and then the second film, you spend most of it separated. You separated the group. And Michael Rooker stole the show. The other characters, after the opening, which was a fun opening, I thought the movie kind of went a little bit downhill, other than Michael Rooker and Kurt Russell. Like, it's not a bad film, but I definitely didn't like it as much as the first one. Rambo 4 is definitely a S tier. Again, is my favorite films of all time. All time. Rambo 4 is close to that. It's such a badass movie. If it didn't have as much CGI, like when he does the explosion at the end, and that's pretty bad CGI, and he has some good gore, but then some of his like CGI additions. If he had less of that, I would put in S tier. But this is a fantastic movie, Rambo 4. I still love the film. A tier, still a damn good tier to be at. And I can't put everything in S tier. So, like I said, awesome film, great lines. It's just one of those things that, the CGI doesn't work the best. I wish it was all done practically. But other than that, 50 caliber ending is one of the... Like, that scene is S tier, which I know is like, well, it does have some CGI, but that has a lot of, like, just the insane gore, like, cojones pulls that through. Fuck it. Actually, you know what? I'll put it there. I'll put it there just for the 50 caliber alone. Fuck it. It's my list. So, fuck it is S tier. Steep Plan. I'm going to put this at E because the sequels are F. Not a fan of a Steep Plan. So disappointing. Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone together, and you do jack shit with them. I can't remember one action scene worth a shit in Escape Plan. And when you have Stallone and Arnold in the same film starring side by side, I can't remember a fucking action scene with them. What, Stallone going boom? That's a problem. That's a huge fucking problem. Estate Plan 2, bottom of the barrel, cheap jack horse shit. And I barely remember the fucking film for that reason. Fuck Estate Plan 2. Get Carter, a underrated film. I've never been a fan of the original with Michael Caine. Much prefer this. I never thought it was as bad as people made it out to be. Never did. I do wish him and Mickey Rourke had a bit more of a, maybe more knockdown, drag out fight. Like more like choreography or something into it to be more exciting. I like the way it's directed. The flashiness didn't bother me, and I thought having Michael Caine in there and Mickey Rourke and everybody else worked well. I love Stallone's performance in it. I think it's one of his more underrated performances as Carter. Sorry, I thought the score fit the film very well. Never really got what was so bad about this movie. Never did. Fist, honestly, I put it with this, the D. Could never get into Fist. I'm not into fisting. I'm not into Fist. I know it's Stallone wanting to do his own like serious Al Pacino type of role after Rocky. Definitely, he wanted to do those kind of films. That's where you saw Fist, Paradise Alley, Victory, but those films just never appealed to me. Never appealed to me. Rocky 5. After the stuff that's come out, I'm going to put it a B. I love the Elton John song at the end, Measure of a Man. I still don't like the fact that they have Rocky get this brain damage, and then Paulie loses all their money, so they're back to stage, to square one. Back to stage one if it was a video game. Back to the beginning. I thought that was really depressing to see that. I do like Tom and the Machine Gun. May he rest in peace. That guy, real boxer, real talented boxer. I do like this brawl at the end in the street. Although I could do without the music rapping. Go for it. Doo, doo, doo. I didn't mind the Sage playing the son. Talia Shire has a bit more to do here compared to the couple of the previous Rocky films. You tell they wanted to go a little bit more back to the serious status of the first Rocky, but I thought Rocky Balboa was much more successful in that. You could have just ended things with Rocky 4, to be honest, but out of the first 6, it's my least favorite Rocky film, but I still like the movie. Mainly the work print version. I think the work print version is much better. I thought Stallone's performance comes off better in that work print version. I thought some of the serious moments and changes that were a better fit. But yeah, I mean, it's a very flawed movie, but I don't hate it like I used to. Bull in the Head. I'm going to put in D for damn, this movie sucks. Because I'm not a fan of these either. The only saving grace is Stallone's performance. I think Stallone does a good job. But the rest of the movie, very disappointing for being a Walter Hill film. Very disappointing. And don't care for Son Kane, Google Cop, where most of the fucking film he's on his fucking phone. Jason Momoa is the villain, not a fan of Jason Momoa. The action, I mean, there's direct-to-video action films. Johnny Young Bosch did a film called Broken Fist. Drive with Mark Dacascos. Some of the PM Entertainment films have a lot more higher quality of action scenes than this film did. This is a very disappointing movie. Rocky 3, definitely. Why it's not S tier? I didn't. I can't put everything in S tier, but I do love Rocky 3 and Mr. T, Hulk Hogan. You could argue has the best Rocky fight, where he's actually using a bit of strategy and blocking and going back and forth that he's trained from Carl Weathers' character. It was great to see Carl Weathers and Rocky together, teaming up, and Carl Weathers helping Rocky. That was a nice progression of Apollo Creed's character. It's always a bit of a, you have to do it for the story. It's just always a bit of a bummer to see Rocky just this shit get down at the beginning. That's not the movie's fault, so it's not fair, but it's just one of those, like, I kind of fast forward that part. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to see that. But that's needed because it shows that he wasn't ready and he's being a bit too cocky, and you gotta get that Eye of the Tiger back. But, great sequel. Death Race 2000, I'm gonna put in the B category. I like Death Race. David Carradine. Stallone's a lot of fun in Machine Gun Joe. I think Machine Gun Joe. I wish he was in the film even more so. But he just has a lot of good high energy to it, and he's this race that happens, if you hit people, you get extra points. So it's a precursor to Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto was definitely inspired by Death Race 2000, as well as a lot of other stuff. And like I said, Sylvester Stallone is just a lot of fun in that role. Playing a villain character, which is not something you get to see on a regular basis. Backtrace, Backwash, butt fucking pain in the ass movie. Bottom of the barrel for Stallone. That's a film that's like the Bruce Willis, Steven Seagal type of shit, where in this one, Stallone's in it for, I don't know, 15 minutes. And his acting's not quite as bad because Bruce Willis is aphasia, and then Steven Seagal don't give a fuck. So Stallone's performance isn't that bad, but he's there for 15 minutes, and mostly it's Matthew Modine trying to clear his name that I don't give a rat's ass about. Pedestrian direction. Just lame duck fuck of a movie. Easily terrible fucking film. One of his worst. Grudge Match. Actually, I'm going to put that here. Which I think is worse, Driven or Escape Plan? I'll put Driven as worst as Escape Plan. There's a few Arnold lines that are funny. And I like the idea of Stallone being a guy that can escape from prison, but it's just a lot of disappointment. Grudge Match. The way I look at it is the best is at the front, and then the worst is at the front, if that makes sense. That's how I look at it. Like, the best is at the front, and then go back. Then here's like the worst of these is the front, and going back. Just technically, if you're going, it'd be like, okay, then it'd be like if this was the same thing, like technically this would be here, and then technically this would be here, and technically this would be here, because this is worse. But again, based on this, like the one at the front is the worst. I know that's confusing, but that's just a better way for me to look at it. I know it's a wonky way of doing it, but just best for me to. I look at the line. I think that's the worst, and then second, this is how I do it. Like, Grudge Match, by the way, it's like, oh, we got Rocky and we got Raging Bull together. Awful comedy. Kevin Hart being annoying. You got Rob De Niro and fart jokes. We got a big old joke about BJ. What does BJ mean? Blueberry, blah, blah, blah. Unfunny comedy. I think you had Kim Basinger. It was kind of nice to see her and Stallone work together. But I mean, you want to see Stallone and De Niro work together? Just go watch Copland. Just go watch Copland. Rocky, definitely A tier. I like the sequels more. I just find, well, I like Rocky 2 through 4 more. I just find them more exciting, and those were the films that introduced me. It was Rocky 2, 3, and 4. First Rocky I didn't see till much later, so I don't have as much nostalgia of the first Rocky as the others, but it's still a heartfelt movie. This rice stinks. It's still a classic. Rhinestone. I'm gonna put this right in the middle. Not a fan of the movie, but there's some funny bits with Stallone. Looks like he's having fun. Drinking's dying. But it was such a bad decision. Like, okay, Stallone going to be a country singer. Of course, the comedy's like he's bad at it. It's just the audience didn't want to see that. Kind of like Clint Eastwood. They didn't want to see him in Paint Your Wagon. Like what Clint Eastwood did in Paint Your Wagon, Stallone did in this. It's like, I get that there's comedy in that, but it's not really what people want to see from you. I know Paint Your Wagon wasn't supposed to be as much of a comedy, but it just comes off that way. Here is a little bit more on purpose, but just a bad decision, bad fit. And Stallone does look like he's having fun. It's just not really what people wanted from you, Sly. It really isn't. Let me think about that for a minute. Paradise Alley. Actually, I'm going to move that over here. I'll put it there. Like I said, I appreciate what he was trying to do after Rocky, but they just never hit for me like his later films did. I appreciate what he was doing, but just don't find the stories that enticing. And the interesting curiosities see Stallone in his early career, but it's just, I don't think these were like either the right stories or the most exciting projects, and it just wasn't for me. Expendables 2, how do I feel about that in today's age? And I looked at this list. I don't know. It's much better than the third one. Okay, if I'm being honest with myself, is it better than these movies? Is it better than these? Is it better than these? I would say yes. I'm going to put this here. That might be the most surprising of all. I'm still not a fan of the film because I find it disappointing. It's still cool to have Van Damme in there as a villain. He does a nice job. It's still cool to have Chuck Norris in there. It's still cool to have the bit with Arnold, Bruce, and Sly, the three of them together, mowing down bad guys. There's still moments that are nice to see, but Stallone and Van Damme's fight was disappointing. I thought it was a lot more could have been done with it in terms of different types of choreography. The Scott Adkins Jason Statham fight was also very disappointing. It seemed like a lot more should have been done in that with the choreography, a lot more. Dolph Lundgren being turned more into a joke after he did a wonderful job in the first Expendables was such a big mistake. Uh, Jet Li not being in it much was too bad. He's only in the beginning, that's it. I just remember in the theater being very disappointed with it, and that's feeling still with me to this day. So, that's just me. Lock Up is definitely A tier. Uh, very, very underrated film. Donald Sutherland is wonderful as the villain. What beautiful score by Bill Conti. The only reason it's not on S tier is that, again, I can't make every movie S tier. But Lock Up is just a wonderful, underrated prison movie. You got Tom Sizemore, may you rest in peace. You got pretty damn good cast. Just one of those films that, bombed when it came out and didn't deserve it. Really felt sorry for his character, where this warden wants revenge on him because he escaped before to see his father before he died in the funeral. And Donald Sutherland got his career fucked up because of that. So now, even though Stallone's character is supposed to be in minimum security, the warden gets him the maximum security to make Stallone's life a living hell. Criminally underrated movie. Didn't deserve any of the backlash he got. Speaking of which, Over the Top, once again, does not deserve the backlash. It's an arm wrestling movie. Yeah, so? It's also a story about a father and son. Has an excellent soundtrack. Stallone does a really good job. I think the kid who plays his son does a good job as well. You got Robert Loggia. You got Terry Funk, the wrestler, in there. The arm wrestling to me makes it more unique. Yeah, I really enjoy Over the Top. And I think it's an underrated fucking film. I can't go in depth in each of these because it's already 37 minutes in, and it would take me like 2 hours if we go in depth in this, but anyway. Copland, I got put S tier with that one. It is one of Stallone's best films. And this should have gotten a lot more accolades, and it didn't, and that's just dumbfounding to me. Like, Stallone gets an Oscar nomination for Creed, where he plays a very tired, old Rocky who pukes. But Copland, which is a completely different performance for Stallone, and he's going up against heavyweights like Robert De Niro and Ray Liotta and Harvey Keitel and holding his own, and he gets nothing for it? That makes zero fucking sense to me. Zero fucking sense. So, whatever. But I love Copland. Expendables. I'll put it here at the A. Wonderful experience in the theater. Great to see all these guys together in one film. Fond memories of that. Yeah, Eric Roberts is the bad guy. You have, in retrospect, the CGI. I wish there was less CGI. CGI blood. CGI squibs. I don't know why it can't be practical. That was a big mistake. I think at one point it's because this and the second film were going to be PG-13, and then they decided to be R-rated at the last minute. That's such a stupid decision. If that was the case, should have just been gun-ho R to begin with practical blood squibs and stuff. I think that would have helped a lot. Sometimes the editing, like in the Dolph Lundgren Jet Li fight, which was a bit better edited in the director's cut, but sometimes the editing can be faulty. But it was an entertaining gimmick novelty to see all these guys together. And remember when Terry Crews came in with that shotgun, it was a fucking crowd pleaser in the theater, and like I said, just great to see Stallone with all these guys. You know, Stallone talking with Bruce Willis, Stallone sharing the screen with Arnold, Stallone and Jet Li. Like, just being a big Stallone fan was just great to see that magic the first time. Rocky Balboa, I'm going to put here. To me, it's a nice swan song. One of Stallone's best performances. I mean, it's a bit of a bummer that Adrian gets killed off. I get why they did it though, but it's still a bit of a bummer. I put it, some of these films above. Like, I think they're more underrated. Like, I think Get Car, Lock Up, or they're just more underrated. But Rocky Balboa, it's a damn good movie. Stop or My Mind Will Shoot. People don't want to be pissed at me. I'm going to put it in the B category. I never hated the movie. I don't need to see Stallone in a diaper. That was stupid. But I never hated the movie as much as other people did. I can still watch and have fun. It's silly, it's goofy, it's stupid, but Stallone's having fun. But at the same time, it's not as hard to watch for me compared to Rhinestone, which is I don't have to hear Stallone sing, even if it's supposed to be badly on purpose for comedy. And the premise kind of does make me laugh, I will admit, even if it's a sitcom type of premise. And there's moments I still remember, like when the mom forced him to eat all this food, and then he does, he's got to tell a buddy of his all the food he eats. Something about stuff like that just made me chuckle. And some action pieces, like the finale where he's in the truck and he's got to ramming into the engine, all done for real in camera, where it's fucking up the engine of the vehicle, the blade of the airplane. I thought Roger Spottiswoode did a nice job in those scenes. But, yeah. First Blood, I'm going to put in the A category. I know people saying, well, why don't you put an S tier? I love the film, but it's one of those films that it stands up on its own, and this is my stupid way of thinking. These other films, I think, either have a bit underrated quality or don't get as much as support as First Blood does. First Blood deserves it. Fantastic film. But I just want to give the more spotlight on the ones that are on the S tier. I know this stupid thinking, but just the way my brain goes. But First Blood is classic. It's a long road, and the music by Jerry Goldsmith. You really feel sorry for John Rambo. You really get a sense of his traumatic state of what happened back in the day, and they pushed him. I'll give you what you won't believe. Let it go. Let it go. Still love it. Detox. I do find this film very underrated. You know what? I'm going to put it here because I find this film so criminally underrated. Yes, I wish there was a bit more gore and the editing could be fixed up a bit. But the closest Stallone came to a horror film. I love the atmosphere that reminded me of John Carpenter's The Thing. Isolation in the middle of nowhere in the snow. Stallone, I think, gives one of his most underrated performances in it, as a guy whose love of his life dies, and he's a shell of his former self, to the point he even tries to even end himself. A very different type of role for Stallone. When you get to the settlement, there's Charles Dutton as his buddy, there's Tom Berenger, there's Robert Patrick, there's hell of a cat, Chris Christopherson. Satisfying finale. I see you. You see this. Love the musical score. I think the score at points is very beautiful. And it's one of those things, like, it's Stallone, and a horror serial killer movie. I'm a sucker for that. I just wish it was a bit more bloody and violent. Again, the editing to be fixed up a bit, but I still quite enjoy that film. Creed, I like the band Creed, but this is a piece of shit. Fuck Creed. Expendables 3. Fuck Expendables 3. I probably watch the. I probably watch it over these just because of noise and spectacle. But the new team sucks. Oh, this guy's awesome because he took parachute. This guy's awesome because he did his ass kicked because he's trying to get the betting bigger. Oh, this lady's awesome because it's Ronda Rousey and her fat ass mole. Fuck Ronda Rousey and fuck Expendables 3. That's why I don't give a shit about the fourth one. Daylight. I'm actually going to put this here because it's underrated. Now, where would be... I like the action spectacle, so it makes me want to put it higher, but the supporting cast is annoying, so it makes me want to put it lower. I'll put it there for now. Because Daylight, I love the song at the end. Whenever there is love. I love seeing Stallone in a disaster movie, like a Tower Inferno type of movie. At least Stallone does a bang-up job acting. I love the Rob Cohen, the way he filmed the action sequences. A lot of it's done in camera. Except the big explosion. There's some CG, but I can understand in that front, and there's enough real practical stuff mixed in there that made it palatable. A lot of the supporting cast, though, the survivors are annoying as shit, and they hurt the film a lot. Just like Van Stallone, you gotta save these sons of bitches. Fuck them, let them drown. But Stallone, it just makes me feel for Stallone's character. I love. It's funny. A nice guy, Silver Wings, mentioned how when Stallone has the vest, he looks like Chris Redfield in Resident Evil, and it's true. And I love that get up, especially when he's going through the fans, and at one point gets stuck. He's trying to get out of it before he hits in a high deer and chops him up. That's an effective sequence. So I do quite like Daylight. Rocky 2, I do enjoy. Do I enjoy that more than Rocky Balboa or less? I'll just put a step down because Stallone has those fantastic speeches and about how hard you hit, about how hard you did hit, and keep moving forward. Oh, one thing about Rocky Balboa, I get why they did, but I hate the fact that Antonio Tarver, he hits Stallone and he breaks his hand. I'm like, okay, they did that just to make it more believable that Stallone's character could go the distance with him. And I get why they did, but it's like, maybe that happens more often than I know about, where people's hand breaks during, but it's like, I don't know. There's still a part of me that's like, I didn't really want that. I don't know why that bothers me a bit. I don't know. Shade, I didn't mind. But I put it here. It's a poker movie. I thought for direct-to-video film, it's actually not too shabby. Nighthawks. I put Nighthawks in the A category. Whoops, I'll put it about there. Rutger Hauer, Billy D. Williams, Stallone doing his bit of Serpico. Wish we were to see the full uncut version because you see at the end he shoots Rutger Hauer, but they only show it twice. But then Rutger Hauer's body falls out, and you see there's like 6 bullet holes in him. So they cut the other stuff out. Specialist, I'll put that in B. I put that in B. Same with Assassins. They're both films I do like. I don't love it. They have their flaws. I do think Assassins I put above Specialist because Assassins has an issue with running time and Julianne Moore, but they don't go as much into the love story compared to Specialist, which that's my least interesting thing in The Specialist is the love bits with him and Sharon Stone. The more interesting bits is the stuff between him and James Woods and the way he gets revenge on these guys using bombs. I wish that was more of the focus. But, I mean, I would not even mind if James Woods was the lead and Stallone was the bad guy. Then that could have been interesting. But, Specialists I still like. Same with Assassins. Assassins, Antonio Banderas steals the show in that. But Assassins, I know there's some pacing issues. It's a bit too long. It's like over 2 hours. Didn't need to be that. But I agree with Stallone's Assassins, but it could have been a grittier movie because they are assassins. You know, not delivery boys or anything. So they both have their flaws, but I can enjoy them. Judge Dredd. I'll put that in this category C. There's moments I can enjoy. The motorcycle, what's it called? The law giver, the flying cycle sequence. When Stallone's in the suit, it's a good-looking suit. Some production design and music is pretty on point. But Stallone is one of his weaker performances. Prepare to be judged. I knew you'd say that. Really lame one-liner that they thought was a gimme because they kept reusing it. I knew you'd say that. Give a fuck. Fun villain, Armand Assante. But a lot of missed opportunity. Like, you had that big robot that was the ATC or something. The robot that's mowing down people. I'm like, oh, it's going to be Judge Dredd versus robot. And he's going to be using the gun and this isn't working. Maybe this last bit will work. No. Apparently, at one point, maybe it's going to be PG-13, and then... But then what they got was an R rating, and... They should just go full-blown with the R rating. Stallone never should have taken off the helmet. His performance... When he's doing the Cobra low T voice, it works. But then it's like, I am the law. I didn't betray the law. Like, just over dramatic. Didn't work quite. And again, other missed opportunities, like the whole clones. The clones come alive and they look kind of like a creepy design. And apparently there was a scene filmed that was cut out. But as soon as you see them, boom, they're gone. And he did not need Rob Schneider as the comedic relief. It's like they took Dredd, the comic, and they tried to make it more of a mainstream. We have the funny sidekick, and we have a love interest, and you know, we go kiss the girl, or she kisses him, and I think Diane Lane did fine. Like I said, there's positive aspects, but there's a lot of negative aspects as well, and Dredd with Carl Urban's a lot better of a movie. And Tango and Cash, well... Okay, let's do it. Boom. S tier. It's one of my... It might be... If you take out sci-fi, like I Come in Peace and stuff, I would say it is my favorite straight-up buddy cop action movie. Because Stallone and Kurt Russell knock out of the park as a team. It's come out as Rambo and Jack Burton. You know, it's Cobra and Snake Plissken. excellent, fun action movie. Great, great action film. It works wonders as an exciting fucking movie. Love the film. So, there you go. With that said, S tier, Rambo 2, Cobra, Rambo 3, Cliffhanger, Demolition Man, Tango and Cash, Rambo 4, Rocky 4, Copland. These are my favorites. Films I do also love: First Blood, ICU, Over the Top, Spendables, Lock Up, Rocky 3, Daylight, Dick Carter, Rocky Balboa, Rocky 2, Oscar, Nighthawk, Rocky. Films I could watch: Assassins, Specialist, Stop Remember Will Shoot, Death Race 2000, Shade, Rocky 5, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So these are all films I could watch. I either love or don't mind. So for those who's like, you're not a Stallone fan. Oh yeah? Look at all this stuff here. Judge Dredd, Expendables 2, two very disappointing movies. Rhinestone, Lords of Flatbush, it's like the more I think about it, I'm like, you know, I like it more than these, but at the same time, I'm not in a rush to ever see it again either. So that's why the more they go, I don't know. Bull in the Head, lame. These other films could never get into. Grudge Man, Steep Plane, Driven. If you asked me when these films came out, I'd say they're the worst until these films came out. Spy Kids 3, Bat Trace. There's no Steep Plane 3. I would put a Steep Plane 3 in there as well. Tree 2, Avenging Angelo, Expendables 3. Definitely the worst of the worst. So, and sadly, a lot of these movies is what he's done recently. You think the past 10 years is what? The Creed films, Expendables 3, Steep Plane 2, and 3 would be on here as well. Steep Plane 3, Bat Trace, even before the Grudge Man, Steep Plane. Like, Steep Plane is his worst franchise. Easily his worst franchise. Why that became a trilogy, I don't know. To be fair, I think the sequels were financed by like China, which is why Steep Plane 2 especially was heavily influenced into the story. And what a waste having Dave Bautista in there as well. What a complete waste. But yeah, that's my tier list. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. Thanks once again, DavieVids. And we'll see you later. Bye-bye.